Hello, film fans, and welcome to the Folk Filmmaking Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Lotz, with my wife, Elizabeth, who is also my co-host.
Hello, my friends.
How's it going, Elizabeth?
I'm pretty great. How are you?
I'm pretty good as well. This is the second episode. I feel like it's been a little bit of time since we recorded the first one. How did you feel about that one to begin with?
I feel like it was an appropriate amount of time, and I don't listen back to these. I'm shy. I don't like listening to myself, so I think it was received quite well.
Yeah, I felt good with how it went, and I felt like it was a good, successful. I mean, we have like 50 followers now on this podcast, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In folk filmmaking news, I think that's kind of where we want to start, is just kind of talking about folk filmmaking and making this a podcast that kind of revolves around folk filmmaking. So we're going to sort of talk about stuff that's in the news, I guess, of folk filmmaking. So, Wild Boys, there's going to be a sequel to the first Wild Boys film by Dune Productions.
I'm really excited for that.
What did you think of the first film?
I really liked the first film. Can we talk about their the way they announced that release? That video that they put on TikTok was hilarious. If you guys haven't seen it, go and look at it because it made me crack up. They're funny guys.
I didn't see the TikTok video. I saw the video. They did a video on YouTube about like announcing it. So maybe they did a different video, but that's cool that they have kind of. I know that Doom Productions is kind of big into TikTok more so than we are, or at least right now. So that's cool. Beyond that, we also had that Joel Haver release his Drowning in Promise feature film, which is a movie that I kind of knew a little bit about before it came out. When Joel came to visit, he kind of had told me ahead of time that he was working on a feature film, and he told me that he was working on something potentially with Dax Flame, who was the guy who was in 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street and Project X, and who's the co-star in the movie. So that was really cool. Just to I knew a little bit ahead of time, but I didn't know anything about the story or anything. So I just kind of knew, and I knew it was coming at the end of end of November, early December time.
Yeah.
So
I know you've watched it, and I have not, but I really actually am looking forward to seeing that. The poster that he had made reminds me of something else I've seen. I like the color that he picked. It kind of actually reminds me of and I know this has nothing to do with Joel Haver or the folk filmmaking, but the color palette reminds me of John Green with The Fault in Our Stars.
that might be where you're getting it from, because that kind of feels like it tracks in terms of what you're saying.
And Paper Towns.
Yeah,
it's all the same kind of color.
It does remind me kind of that poster from Paper Towns. I really like the poster. It's definitely one of those, I think it makes you think about it the more you see it.
But the position of the characters, the position of Joel and Dax in the poster particularly reminds me of something different as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those posters that feels familiar, but also feels like a fresh take on a familiar concept of two people on a poster. But then it's also, I don't know where I track it from, but it is from some other movie as well. And
maybe that's a good concept. It's familiar enough that you're like, oh,
yeah,
I want to watch that because it reminds me of something else that I liked. Maybe that was intentional.
Yeah, I feel like that was definitely intentional. That's just my read on it, is that it's familiar enough, but it has that, because they're flipped on the top of the poster upside down, and then that's kind of, I guess, maybe that speaks to it being sort of subversive. I don't know. But beyond just the news, because as much as I think we like talking about folk filmmaking news, I think we also want to talk about what we're doing in our lives and stuff. I was thinking about talking about some of the unfinished 922 Films projects.
Or as I like to call it, the vault.
The vault.
The 922 Films film vault. Things that are in the vault, on paper, in the mind of Daniel Lotz that need to come to fruition and see the light of day.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's in the vault, is what we'll call it. There's a few things that I think that I really want to do that I just don't feel like we've gotten the chance to do. I think the first one, and we announced it, I want to say we announced it in was it 2019 or 2020? I think it was 2020. We were going to do Lots in America, and that just never happened.
Well, we sort of had a worldwide pandemic that happened.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, like, we had really big plans in 2020. I know me and Joel were, like, really, like, excited to do some really big movies in 2020. And then it literally just, like, the whole thing went to shit.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, this is not very doable.
So Lots in America is a new take on the Albert Brooks film Lost in America.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, it's one of Daniel and I's comfort movies where we can just put it on and watch it, and it's just like, yeah, I know where this is going, but I like the familiarity of something that gives me a dopamine fix.
You riding that dopamine train.
I love the dopamine. I'm about chasing dopamine, man.
I think that it's one of those movies that it's just like very, like you said, it's very consumable. Like it's a very like easy movie to watch, but it's also, I think, just a very unique and fun movie. And one thing that I wanted to stress is that Lost in America is basically a beat for beat, or not a beat for beat, but it's a ripoff in a way of Easy Rider.
Oh, well, yeah, they make reference to that.
So I think it'd be funny to make a film based off Lost in America, whereas Lost in America was based off Easy Rider. So it's like Easy Rider was the blueprint for that film, and I think it would be funny to make a film that uses Lost in America as the blueprint of that. So that's one thing in terms of the story. And I think the story would relatively play out similar in terms of like the beginning. I think that it would be funny to sort of take the tropes from the first film and reverse them. So like in the original film, we have the girl, and she like basically spends all the money and
it's kind of just there for the ride, and this is his grand master plan of what he wants to do with the rest of his life, and it just kind of...
Well, she takes the money down to the casino, and then she spends it all. And I think it would be funny if my character is aware of this. So, like, he knows there's problems in their relationship. And so what he does is he basically leaves the money out, and she does the exact same thing. And then she comes back to the hotel room, and she's expecting him to be mad. And he's like, no, I'm not mad at all. I only gave you 10 grand. I left 10 grand. The rest of it's in the safe. Like, there's, like, some safe in the room or something like that. And it would be funny that he's aware of, like, the plot of the original film, so he doesn't allow that to happen.
Very break the fourth wall, kind of.
Yes, but the funny thing is that it would be... They get robbed the very next day. So basically, they think they're doing everything right, and then literally just life takes over and screws up their plans anyways.
Right.
So I think that would be funny to sort of...
That's one plot point that I like.
Yeah, that's one thing, and I think it'd be funny if Joel was the guy who was robbing us.
We always drag Joel into, like, our little master plans of things. It's funny.
Yeah. And then also, I think, like, just in general, the whole movie would be kind of flipping the story of that original film on its head a little bit.
I like that idea, putting a new, fresh take on things, incorporating parts of our personalities into the plot. I think I should be the one that has the, like, harebrained idea. We're gonna do our own version of Lost in America. We're gonna make this. It's gonna be Lots in America, and I quit my job, and I buy a van, and I talk you into moving, like traveling, and you're like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. It's kind of apropos the story of our life.
Yeah. I think in some way, I think that would be sort of in order if we were going to do the film. I think that, like, I don't think that necessarily they have to both not want to go. I don't, like, in the original film, I feel like the wife is apprehensive, but she's still excited, and I think we could keep the same thing where you're the one driving it, but, like...
That's what I meant, but I meant to flip it.
Yeah.
For you to be the female character.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're basically saying take the female characters' tropes from Lost in America and you make them my characters' tropes, which I think would actually make sense because then it would kind of keep things fresh and lively. and it would, I think, again, fit in with certain things, like maybe my character researches the movie within the film. I think that would be really funny if I watch Lost in America within the movie itself.
We're gonna Ghostbusters 3 this shit, man. You're gonna be the Melissa McCarthy character.
I was gonna say Harold Ramis.
No, Ghostbusters 3, the bad one with all the girls.
Ew,
The horrible one.
No, yeah, that one's not a very good movie. I think enough people have talked about how terrible that film is. But another, so like, I think that's like the main kind of like big idea that we were really wanting to do, that we just kind of completely got not a chance to do that at all.
I've said this before and I'll say this again, and I know I'm probably gonna beat a dead horse with this, but I think that is the one film that we should actually kickstart and do a Kickstarter for.
Yeah, and I think
just because I've researched and budgeted all of this, and it's quite expensive, like to rent an RV.
Would you, as an audience, I know there's people listening on the YouTube, like, comment in there, like, would you actually support a Kickstarter? Like, I think that's a thing that I want to do, and I want to sort of take stock of, like, would you support a Kickstarter by 92 Films? Because, like, if we were going to do a project like this, like Elizabeth said, this is going to probably take, like, 5 to 10 grand minimum just to get this rolling with gas and food and an RV and all that stuff. And it's something we could do ourselves, I think, but it just would be a lot easier to do it if we had the backing of like our film community and had people that were willing to like put in a little money to get a really good product.
I would like to be really bougie. If I had an unlimited budget with this film, which I don't, obviously, I would like to be really bougie and hire someone to drive for us, because I'm afraid of driving anything over 20 feet long. That scares me. You know how I was when I moved from Cleveland to Chicago, and I had to drive that U-Haul?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was insane. On a holiday weekend, and it took 2 more hours than it should have. But I digress. If I had an unlimited budget, I would hire someone to drive for us. But I'm gonna man up, and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and I think that in general that this is probably the movie, because I was thinking just about like how we built up, because like I feel like last year, or not last year, I guess it was technically this year. This year we wanted to do it, I think, earlier, but then we ended up doing our Myrtle Beach trip, which we made Watch Me As I Go, and we kind of used that as like, I feel like, a jumping off point for.
Well, it was good practice to see how how comfortable or uncomfortable I was in front of
me
cameras,
Yeah.
I do okay with voice acting, but I can never rewatch anything of my own. I just, it makes me cringe. And I know some people have criticized me for that, i.e. Charlie Rogers, not to call anybody out, but I think there's a lot of actors that don't watch their own performances. I feel like that's a thing I've heard in interviews. Am I wrong, Dan?
No, I know for a fact, at least at the very bare minimum, I know Jonathan doesn't watch any of our stuff, really. I think he did watch Chlorine and Long Con, but he does not like to watch himself so it's not uncommon.
Okay, so now I feel better, because I feel like Johnny Depp, even, I've heard that. He said that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
And to go into, I think on Watch Me As I Go, we did learn a lot more than I think we would have learned if we, like, I don't want a 50, like, let's say Lots in America takes 10 grand to make. I don't want that to be our learning experience film. You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to put that much money into it, I want that to be the film that we nail. And I feel like what I learned on Watch Me As I Go is that so much of that movie, I learned that wider angles are better, because you're more comfortable with those. And, getting the camera further away from your face. And, maybe using longer lenses would be more effective to get better performances. And I think those are things that, like, had we done that in real life and just went on Lots in America and just went and did it, and we didn't, like, do a practice run, we would have probably run into a lot more problems and, like I said, spent a ton of money to make a practice film. Whereas I think Watching As I Go kind of gave us the practice we needed without having to go and spend a ton of money on it.
So, have you even announced that we're making a sequel to that and we're shooting it again in Myrtle Beach?
I mean, I think for me, I mean, it's not like a project that I'm like specifically announcing. It's more like,
No, I mean, can we talk about it?
oh yeah, we can talk about it.
The only reason I phrased it that way is because I was like, oh, can we talk about it?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about it.
Or is this something we need to edit out of the podcast?
No. I think it's fine. I mean, again, I'm not worried. I'm not the type of person who's worried about stuff like that. I don't think it's specifically a film we're announcing in the sense that
I understand what you're saying, but I'm excited to
jump back into it.
Yeah, revisit those characters and go on vacation.
Go on vacation again. That'll definitely be fun. I think it's interesting because I don't even know if it's going to be a part of 12 features per se, even though it will probably be shot within the window of 12 features. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it like if it becomes like I need to make it part of 12 features, I will. But
what is the criteria to be part of the 12 features project?
The 12 features project is just 12 movies I'm making within 12 months. So I'll make that part of the 12 features if I need it. But if it's just like a random project that I didn't intend on doing and I'm going to do 12 between that time, I'll just do a different film. But if like I'm behind and that's what we have to do, that's what I'll do. You see what I'm saying?
It's going to be 14 features.
Yeah, it might end up being like Pure Cinema was a film that I just randomly shot one day, and I was like, that's a movie. And it could have been a part of like a 12 features project, but it's just a film I just made for fun. So it didn't really have any connection to the 12 features project. Watch Me As I Go, the original film, could have been part of the 12 features project. Again, just a random project I did for fun. So we'll see. I mean, I'm really excited for a sequel to Watch Me As I Go. I think that those characters have a lot more we could do with them. And I think that me and you were talking about like things that we missed out on the first film. Like it would be nice to like shoot some night scenes. Like that would have.
For sure. I think we missed an opportunity, especially nighttime on the beach. Something else I was thinking about was an interaction outside of just me and you.
Okay.
Maybe that's us finding someone in that area that's an actor to vet them and put them in, or if that's just an interaction, an organic interaction, how Joel Haver does that in a few of his films.
So I think I agree with what you're saying. What kind of purpose do you think that character would serve? Is it just to build it out more, or is it just kind of?
I have this idea in my head where you and I haven't met back up, and I'm like at the bar and like talking to somebody and like having a good time, and then that's kind of how we lock eyes and we see each other and we're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's pretty good. For me, I think that with the mics, having the lav mics, it would make things like that where like let's say we're in a bar or at a restaurant, you can probably covertly record, especially if it's outside. You can record stuff and get away with it a lot easier. And I've wanted to do stuff like that, and I think it would be cool to maybe incorporate, like you said, other people into the movie.
Well, I'm glad you like my idea.
Yeah, I think that would be something I didn't consider for the first film just because it didn't feel feasible. But I feel like if we were going on the trip and we were going knowing that we were going to have kind of a similar type of movie as the first film, I think it would make things a little bit easier now going into it being like, okay, I think we can record, you or let's say other people, you talking to other people for the beginning portion and not feel as like we only have to do the me and you characters. Because I feel like the first film, it was like a rush to get it done. Like, I don't feel like we were rushing during production, but I feel like at the end of it, I didn't know if we had a feature-length film. And in some ways we didn't really, because like we came back and we shot more back home. You know what I mean? So we had like I think we had like 36 minutes or something like that. So we still had to like record 4 or 5 minutes to get to that feature length. So I think if I went forward, like going into the project again, I would probably also bring like our computer, like a laptop or something that we could like monitor stuff, so that we at least had an idea of like how long things might be. That would be like maybe the only thing I would have done differently. But I did kind of like it is almost like film, like where you have like a limited amount. Like because we just shot on the SD card and I had no way to view it other than on the camera, it kind of limited me in a good way.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, now that we're commuting for my job a little bit, we know we could actually pack up the tower to your computer.
Yeah, I think that would even be a possibility. I don't know if we'd want to do that, but like it's definitely something that we've done it enough and practiced enough packing up the tower
right.
that we know what we're doing. So beyond Watch Me As I Go 2, I was also thinking about doing Pull the Trigger as an idea, and I know you have a lot of interest in that one.
I think that when Pull the Trigger initially came out, I was like, I don't understand this at all. I love you, Dan, but I was like, okay, visually this is really cool, but I don't understand the story at all. I would like to see it definitely expounded upon, but and actually what would be cool is to bring back Austin Mason, but I don't see that happening. I don't know. Maybe that's the pessimist in me, but
I've reached out to Austin, and I don't know if Austin listens to this. This might come off bad, but I've reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, you want to be a part of it?" And he keeps saying he does, but then he just never responds. So
I think you have to have like a concrete plan and idea for someone to be like, "Okay, let's do it." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like kind of like a chicken or the egg scenario, because you want the actor to be on board before you waste the time to like write something, and if they're not interested, then you don't want to like write something that they're not interested in. So you kind of like want them on board so that you can kind of get it going. But I understand people want concrete plans as well.
Don't take this the wrong way, but can we recast Charles?
Oh yeah,
that's the controversial.
Yeah, we were never going to use him ever again because we're talking about different Charles, not the Charles from The Long Con, just so people understand.
Charles in Pull the Trigger.
In the Pull the Trigger was a terrible. It was hard to work with him because he just would never show up, and so that was really, really hard for me to work around that. And he put us out, especially when Joel's uncle Jim's came and recorded with us. He screwed up a whole shoot day with us and him, and we had to basically do nothing because we didn't have any actors for that part. So that really put us out, and it was not fun.
You know what you should have done is had Jim's on the phone with someone as a phone call. Hindsight's 20/20, I guess.
Like,
just film him on the phone with someone.
Oh, just for an additional scene?
Or recut that without Charles. Have him act on the phone. Dub in the audio later. That would have been
I think
a way to work around.
I think the scene needed to be in person, kind of, but I get what you're saying. Like,
that kid was so unpunctual.
Yeah.
He'll probably never hear this, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the type of person I'll tell it to his face. He just screwed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So my dream job would be to completely help you run 922 Films and be like the organization person, because I feel like that's one thing that you guys need, and that would have like totally made me as upset as it did ×2.
Yeah, it's hard because like I'm the producer on a lot of the projects in terms of like the day-to-day operations of like a project getting done. I need to like cast people and talk to them, and that's always been my role, and I kind of want to get away from that at some point because I don't really enjoy doing that. But like the amount of stress that I felt doing Pull the Trigger was more stressful than any other project ever, and I think it affected the results of the film because there were so many shoot days where like we just had to accept what we got because it's like, well, Charles didn't show up, so I guess we got to shoot something else, or he's only going to be here for 2 hours instead of 4 hours, and so you just limit and get worse and worse results because you're not having the full time to do the story justice. And I think to your point about it not feeling satisfying when you first watched it, I think again that's kind of the point because it's like it's not a short film in the sense that it's like meant to be enjoyed as just a short film. It was more of a tease of what we could do with the movie, and I feel like had we gone further with the movie, the story would have made more sense.
Well, I think that's why that project in particular, all those hiccups and bumps and everything, for being as young as you are, I think those are like all your lessons, life lessons, learning experiences. And yeah, so now you've worked with a crappy person. Now you know what to articulate to the new cast and crew of what you will accept and what you will not accept.
And it's not like there wasn't times on Long Con that I didn't have similar problems. I mean, we did. There was specific crew members, I won't say who would do that. Or like, we had one actor on Long Con who decided to cut the shoot short and said that they had a headache. And I'm 100% sure to this day, me and Joel both agree that this person did not have a headache and was just wanted to end the shoot day. So that was really funny. So you will run into those situations with actors where they just get really finicky. And I think I've gotten a lot better at, I wouldn't say controlling it. I got better at
managing expectations.
Managing it. And in the situation of that, I just let the person go and just say like, yep, it's the end of the day. Because I'd rather not push it. And you get that better... You'll get better performance from them the following day and understand that, hey, maybe I'm just going to give them a little bit of leeway, and then hopefully the next day they'll be more accommodating to the film.
Right.
And that's what ended up happening. The last project I was thinking about was waste management, which, do you know anything about waste management or no? I don't.
Something about a garbage man and some money.
So basically it's about these two guys who, this is the current version, there's many different versions of it, but basically the gist is all these drug deals go on during regular hours, and basically people put all the drugs and money in trash cans, and that's like how the drug trade works in this universe. And I guess it is kind of realistic because that actually does happen. And so
does it?
Yeah, it actually does. I was researching this, and it's like it's a good way because people like, who's gonna go through the trash of stuff? Just not very common. And the idea is basically these two guys roll up and they pick up a couch or something like that, and then they find a bunch of money inside the couch before the deal was done. And so basically now they're like under the gun, and it's gonna be kind of like an intense sort of thriller film. And we've tried to film this story I think twice now. And that was just disaster the first time. The first time we filmed it, it was like a 50-minute like feature film almost. But it was so bad that we shelved it. So we're trying to like kind of get that one rolling too at some point. I know for 12 features, that might be one of the ones we end up doing.
Sounds like a plan.
Any thoughts on any of these projects before we stop talking about them?
I'm just excited to see what the future holds and how I can contribute to your film projects.
Yeah. With 12 features, because this is more just like unrealized projects, with 12 features, we have, I think, some stuff that you're going to be working on in some ways. We have the bank teller one, which is going to be a shot in one day. So that would be fun to have you on board, and maybe, I don't know in what role yet in terms of maybe not performance, but like, I don't know if you want to work as a producer on it or what, but that would be fun to have you involved on that one.
I want to be the Foley artist.
The Foley artist?
Just kidding. I don't know.
That would be fun.
I feel like I always shoot BTS, and then the BTS doesn't see the light of day.
Well, the BTS is going to see the light of day in a little film called The Folk Filmmakers. It's coming out. It's going to be one of the 12 features. And
when's that coming out?
So ideally at the first quarter of 2021. So that's going to heavily feature basically all of your footage. So you're basically getting a whole film dedicated to your footage.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why I've been saving all that BTS for the Folk Filmmakers documentary. I knew I was going to make this a while ago. I just didn't know it was going to encompass 3 films. I thought it was just going to be about the Long Con, and now it's going to be about Chlorine, Long Con, and Cheap Theater, and use all the BTS we shot between those 3.
Oh, wow. I did not know that at all.
So yeah, you're gonna have all the footage that we shot during Austin. Well, I don't know if you shot any of it, but the Austin McConnell interaction, we have all of that. We have
I did shoot. I
So-
shot for that, yeah.
okay. I couldn't remember who shot what. All the stuff you shot during the chlorine time when we were at the warehouse. All the stuff during the long con shoots. I'm gonna have some BTS stuff that I shot during Sheep Theater, and we're gonna put it all together with narrative stuff on top. So it's gonna be our documentary stuff on top. Like we're gonna have interviews with all of us. So we got to interview you and then me and get all the stuff, put it all together. But that's gonna be one of the 12 features that's coming out.
That's really cool. I'm excited for that, actually.
Yeah, that's gonna be probably one of the big projects, and I think it might end up being one of our bigger films because it's gonna have no copyright music on it. So I think I'll be able to promote it with like ads and stuff, and not feel so limited into what we can do with it, because we're not gonna have swear words, we're not gonna have anything in it like that. So it's gonna be very easy to like put ads on it and promote it and get it out there. So I think it's gonna be a big one, and I think it's something that the filmmaking community is clamoring for, which is like really good documentaries about how to make films from this level, because it's a lot easier to make a film if you see a documentary like this than if you see someone like make Star Wars. Like that's like not attainable, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. I feel good with that, and I think that that's cool that you are happy with your footage being in the film.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's cool. I haven't looked back at any of that footage from before. On a closing note, what are you most excited to see in the realm of folk filmmaking? Projects that are coming out, projects that have been teased, projects that you've been hearing about from your friends in the folk filmmaking community, or even Hollywood. Cough, cough. He doesn't want like any of Hollywood. He hates Hollywood. Just kidding.
For me, for folk filmmaking, I'm trying to think, is there any big projects I'm really excited about? I'm excited about The Bell Rings, which is Doom Productions' movie, The Bell Rings. I'm excited. I know RC Films has some projects. I don't know if they have any announced, but they have some projects like in the works that I know of, which is going to be exciting. I'm trying to think of any other projects. I know there's a movie called Void Man that's coming out by Mohed. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not going to even attempt it. But he has got a film called Void Man, which I have no clue what it's about, but it looks interesting. And
Suck?
I don't think it's a folk film.
No. We can talk about indie films too, can't we?
Oh yeah,
Can we talk about Hollywood films?
sure.
Can we talk about how... Can we talk about how we're going to go see Spider-Man No Way Home?
We're going to see Spider-Man No Way Home.
I'm excited for that. In the next couple of weeks, Dan's going to put together a video essay about Spider-Man, so stay tuned for that. And
I might be doing 2 video essays on Spider-Man.
You heard it here first, folks. 2 videos. 2 video essays.
Yep.
So stay tuned to our YouTube channel and like, follow, and subscribe 922 Films on all your social media platforms.
Yep, thank you, and have a good one, guys.
Thank you and good night.